How you doing? Does Cyclops need another buff? And I'm gonna give you the short answer is yes, and I'm gonna give you the reasons why he needs a buff. So, when I did my first impression of him, was he worth rank enough after the nerf? Because they nerfed his Professor X synergy that pretty much double his damage when it comes to inflicting armor break. So, boy, Kabam regret nerfing that synergy. So I do think now when it comes to Cyclops, my first impression, I think he was still good after the nerf, but now I'm leaning more towards he's just okay, than good. You know, I do believe that Cyclops will always be relevant somewhat. He's never gonna be a bad buff. I don't think so. Okay, he'll never be a Ronin buff. Okay, just kidding, not Ronin. Ronin's actually a decent buff. Okay, just an okay buff, I guess, but not like a Jane Foster buff. Like nobody ever plays with them. Like who's Jane Foster? Is she even in the game? Terrible buff kind of thing. I think he's still gonna be relevant in this game when it comes to Cyclops. I don't think he will be a good buff in the long run. Maybe unless they make less damage, more opponents without damage caps, he will make like 5 million plus health without damage cap. He could be good in the future, but right now I think he's just okay. I believe, but I don't believe he's going to get worse, in my opinion. But why should he get a buff? So this is really more of a best and broken buff concept I'm going to be talking about. If you follow my channel, you know what I mean by that. So let's make Cyclops the best buff in MCOC. And why he should get the best buff. First of all, people voted for Cyclops, okay? And he won. Okay, I voted for Cyclops and he won. Okay. And not only that, he was in the Platinum Pass, so people actually paid to get the 7-star Cyclops. Okay, so people spend money to getting this guy as a 7-star. Okay, I know the Platinum Pass is already over, so maybe Kabam doesn't care, but I don't think they care at all to begin with. But who knows? But I really think he should get the best buff in MCOC just because people voted for him and people spend money for him. Okay, I don't get it why when it comes to buffs like that people voted for or people voted for in general, they're never good. Okay, any buff that's been voted for that won has never been that great. Okay, and even Summoner Choice champions that won Summoner Choice have not been great either, with the exception of Hercules. The only great buff or great champion we ever had was Hercules that people voted for. And really, we can make Cyclops as good as Hercules, if not even better buff, best and even broken buff concept, even better than Hercules. So let's take a look at how we can do that. So one of his biggest issue, and a lot of people complain, is when it comes to his first bulletin point. Leading the charge, Cyclops stores 90% of damage taken from bleeds and from physical thorns and as adrenaline. So I don't get why, whoever did this, it's definitely didn't do a good job. I would say it's unfinished. People thought, man, why not try it with Hercules? People might think it's cool, but it's not. A lot of people are just really not liking this idea, storing damage as adrenaline. So one buff we could do for Hercules, just really keep it simple. So instead of that, Cyclops reduced 90% of the damage taken from bleeds and physical damage. Why can I not do that? It's just keep it simple, right? I don't get it. And I'm going to tell you why that's the really big issue when it comes to his adrenaline. So I will be using a 3-star for this game, showcase. So for a 3-star, I'm just going to show you, or any champion that you take to Sig 99, it will be only 80% store damage. Okay, 80% to be fair. Okay, so if you're using a 5-star and above, any champion you could take to Sig 200, it will be 90% store damage. So the gameplay will be 3 stars. So let's take a look at it. As you can see here, I will be going Atuma which he's supposed to be countering, okay, from his signature ability. But you can see, look at all that adrenaline that I'm storing from the thorns damage. And Atuma doesn't have to be awakened for this, okay? So I always want to let you know this was not my first attempt. I tried multiple times to get this solo. So I try to avoid getting hit, and as well as trying to get avoiding block hits. And so basically you had to play perfectly to solo this fight. Because as you can see, look how much health I was losing from the thorns damage. And you can see that right there. All that right there, I lost of health. So almost 30% health I lost. About 25% health I lost that I could have had, you know. But because it's only adrenaline, I end up not I end up losing that health. And to be fair, it is a 3-star. As I mentioned, it only takes 80% store damage. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean that adrenaline bar you see will be higher at 90%? I'm not exactly sure. But at the same time, this is only a rank 1 Atuma. So let's take a look at this Atuma. So this is only a rank 1 Atuma, and he doesn't need to be awakened to inflict those torn damage. So with only what, 6,476 attack, okay, that's only 6,476 attack, okay. I fought opponents with over 300,000 attack in incursion, which you'll see a little bit later. So even a 7-star rank 6 200 will do far worse than the showcase that you saw now, okay, against Atuma with over 300,000 attack. So it's really just poorly designed, whoever came up with this adrenaline. That's another thing I would fix with Cyclops, is when it comes to his adrenaline, he should just be, you know, keep it really, why does it have to be adrenaline? I don't know. Really just keep it simple when it comes to Cyclops buff, you know. Instead, it would be Cyclops, reduce 90% of the damage taken from bleeds and physical thorn damage. Keep it simple. That's one buff I would say to give Cyclops. And then second buff for him. When it comes to his persistent charge, it's really like practically almost worthless. So I see this all the time in the comment section. People ask, does he need to be awakened? And a lot of YouTubers, they have no idea what they're talking about. You know, oh no, he doesn't need to be awakened. Of course he needs to be awakened. You take less damage from thorns and bleeds because you store it as adrenaline, and you get the health back, and you get increased special attack plus 20% increased prowess potency as well. Not to mention your true focus and precision will last longer, so it's easier to keep your true focus and precision up as well. So of course you want him awakened, preferably at max sig. A better question is he much better with his signature ability? And the answer is absolutely not. Okay, he's not that much better with his signature ability. I personally don't like champions like that. I know some people do, blah blah blah, because he doesn't need to be awakened. But when I get a champion, I want to, you know, once I get them, you know, especially like Cyclops, who doesn't really benefit much from his signature ability, it's like you don't want to get him again. You don't want to dupe him again. You don't want to max sig him, max sig the champion. I want to have a champion that the signature ability matters, because you're excited to dupe the champion or take them to max sig. So it's a really unfortunate. His signature ability pretty much suck. So how can we fix that as far as the second part? So at max sig, you know, you get 10 persistent charge, you get up to 20% special attack bonus. So is that, how useful is that? Let me just show you how useless it is. How useless, I'm saying. So this is Labyrinth of Legends Red Hulk, okay? So I'm about to throw my special 3, do my rotation, throw your special 3, special 2, special 1, and I believe another special 1. So I get 3 persistent charge plus 6% increased bonus, right? As you can see here, it doesn't really matter because even the non-crits was hitting the damage cap. So this signature ability basically becomes useless because of the damage cap. Okay, like It's really disappointing because any champions with high health, that's Labyrinth of Legends, then there's what do you call that? Abyss, Necropolis with what? 3 million plus health opponents. They all have damage cap. So that plus what 20% at max sig, it's practically useless to increase the special attack because it's because of the what do you call this? The damage cap. Okay? So how can we fix that? How can we buff him to fix that? He should have something similar to Hercules when it comes to the persistent charge. Let me show you what I mean. So when it comes to Hercules, every time you complete a defeat of strength, he has this ability causing attacks to deal a burst of physical damage equal to 10% of the damage they dealt. So that's for each persistent charge, and he can get up to 12 of them. Okay, and Cyclops can only go to 10. So 12. So basically 10 times 12 is 120. That would be 120% damage as physical damage burst. So let's say you did 100,000 attack damage, from his special attack or something when it comes to Cyclops. Okay, the physical burst damage at 12 persistent charge will be 120,000 burst damage. That would be equivalent to 200. Total would be 220,000 damage. So that really and Cyclops only has 10 of them as his persistent charge. So it should be just the same as when it comes to Cyclops. It should just be plus 10% burst damage for every persistent charge. So let's just talk about what I mean by that from the gameplay, from the Realm of Legends, Labyrinth of Legends Red Hulk. As you can see here, I get 50,000 damage, right? And I have 3 persistent charge. So with those 3 persistent charge at max sig, it should be plus additional 30% burst additional. Okay, so 50,000 as the damage, then you get another 30% as physical burst damage at 3 persistent charge. So that would be a total of 50,000 plus 15,000. That would be 65,000 total. This will help him so much to get over his biggest issue in the game is the damage cap. So having that extra burst damage instead, that will help him get bypass the damage cap so much, which is really one of the biggest downfall when it comes to Hercules, and pretty much makes his signature ability useless because of damage cap. So let's talk about another gameplay where you have to worry about damage cap. This is Gwen Master. Okay, so another issue we have to worry about here. I didn't even know there was a damage cap in this right here against Gwen Master. So there's damage cap here we have to worry about. Let me just show you what I mean. Let's move forward. By the way, the special 3, the art team, amazing, by the way. So I'm going to try to do my rotation when it comes to the special attack. As you can see, I'm already hitting the damage cap. Even the non-crit is doing 238,000. Okay, so you have to worry about that. So having that 5 persistent charge, that should be an extra 50% burst damage. Okay, let's see. So another thing we have to worry about is you can't really do the loop when it comes to Cyclops. As you can see, you saw that already. Grandmaster threw her special 3. I think another thing we can make Cyclops to give him another buff to make him better is special lock opponent for only 1 second, and to make it fair against non-tech champions. If he can special lock opponent, I wouldn't been able to spam my special attack here. And then if plus another, since I'm hitting the damage cap, like the 5 persistent charge from his signature ability, even at max sig, whatever, it doesn't really matter because I'm hitting the damage cap. So instead of that, it could have been another buff is to give him that plus 10% burst damage for each persistent charge. So I wouldn't got an extra 50% burst damage. Okay, so this would have been easily soloed if those things kind of improve. You know, plus 50% additional burst damage instead, and then be able to special lock opponent that's non-tech for only 1 second, and this would have been a solo. So keep in mind, my first attempt with Mr. Sinister, I soloed this in 1 minute and 52 seconds without damage mastery. Okay, and my second attempt with damage mastery in 90 seconds. So this fight, let's see how long did this last. Okay, 1 minute 18 seconds with damage mastery, and I was using boost 2 as well. And I did this fight 90 seconds with Mr. Sinister. Okay, 90 seconds, okay, with damage mastery. So I don't really see why, you know. I don't know, I know it's not a fair comparison comparing Cyclops as the best buff in MCOC, even though his signature from his region is not working. But Mr. Sinister, like, a lot of people got him for free, and some people got him for free as a 7-star. Okay, Cyclops, people had to pay for him to get a 7-star. Not only that, people voted for him to get a buff, and Mr. Sinister, nobody voted for him to get a buff, and he's the best buff in MCOC. So I gave you those 3 things I think could make him a contender to being the best buff in MCOC. Okay, so another thing I would say to give him, I would say best buff in MCOC. I think a lot of people would agree. So unfortunately, I don't have the gameplay. I would love to have seen the gameplay, but I've seen it. It's in my channel. There's a few of them. I could have probably go over it, but if you play Hercules, you already know what I'm talking about. It's he has what is called infuriate. So let's talk about what that means. So when you dash back and then landing your first light or medium attack, he inflicts a non-stacking infuriate debuff for 7 seconds. So this really helps Hercules ramp up. So I really would love to see Cyclops have that ability, okay, similar to that. So to make it more fair, I think, maybe not a similar copycat of Hercules, and you can't just dash back and forth, for one hit combo to get, to like get persistent charge. It should be your first, after the third basic attack, you get an infuriate for 1 second, okay, and then a cooldown of 1 second. Okay, so when you do your third basic attack, you dash back, and then you get another infuriate that for 1 second, that helps your opponent become more aggressive, so you can just keep dashing back and forth after your third basic attack. So to make it more fair, I guess, I don't know what the right word, and not to copy Hercules, so instead of just the first hit and dash back, it will be the third basic attack. So that will definitely help Cyclops for sure, I would say, to give him, to help him ramp up faster. So I'll give you 4 things for Cyclops I think would make people think he would be the best buff. So let's talk about it again. So when it comes to the first one is, what do you call this? Instead of stores as adrenaline, it should just keep it simple, okay? Just keep it simple. Reduce damage from bleeds and physical thorn damage by 90% at max sig. Just keep it simple. Number 2, so instead of plus 2% flat to increase his personal prowess potency, it should just be plus 10% burst damage physical for every persistent charge. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is he can special lock opponent against non-tech for only 1 second. That's the third buff. And number 4 is he should get an infuriate, similar to Hercules, so but a little different. Okay, so do your 3 basic attack, first 3 basic attack, dash back, get infuriate for 1 second, and then hopefully your opponent dashes back at you and you just intersect them. It'll be so much easier to ramp him up. Now, I still think Mr. Sinister is a better buff, but if you had a vote, I think a lot of people would pick Cyclops over Mr. Sinister when it comes to the buff concept. Okay, I still prefer Mr. Sinister. You know, I think when his signature ability starts working, when it comes to his regen, I think a lot of people will probably pick Mr. Sinister over the buff concept I'm talking about. So, but for me, even without his signature ability not working from his regen, I still pick Mr. Sinister. Okay, even with that buff concept with Cyclops. But if you had to vote, I think most people with that buff concept, people would prefer Cyclops, but not me. Okay, so let's talk about what else. So that's best buff concept and the broken buff concept when it comes to Hercules. Oh, not Hercules. Cyclops is everything I told you. Plus, so in here it says bleeds and thorns damage only. It would be 90% reduced damage from poison. So basically 90% resistant. That would help Cyclops so much. I think if you include that 90% reduced damage from poison, he'll be damage mastery friendly so much. He can actually be damage mastery friendly in Necropolis. Okay, which is another big issue he has. He's not damage mastery friendly in Necropolis, and I would pick him over Mr. Sinister, the nerf version, because as you can see, when it comes to Mr. Sinister, when it comes to his regen from his signature ability, it's not working. But personally, if his signature ability is working, when it comes to his regen, I might pick Mr. Sinister over Cyclops, even with the 90% reduction to poison when it comes to the broken buff concept of Cyclops. So I know it's a tall order to compare Cyclops to Mr. Sinister. I get that. So this is nothing new. 4.2 million health. How much was that attack? 323,000. Yeah, it's not that bad. You know, they actually nerfed personal space regeneration. It used to be 0.25%. Now it's only 0.13. So practically half what it used to be. So this, with better gameplay, definitely could have been soloed with Mr. Sinister. But with Cyclops, I don't know. Like, I shouldn't throw my special one right there. That was my mistake. So I thought maybe if I just threw my special 3, special 2, as you can see, he's not inflicting poison anymore because of the reduced ability accuracy. But right here, I should have thrown it. But for some reason, I don't know what I was doing. I would have definitely soloed this if I had done that. But as you can see, I didn't get the solo. I don't know if Cyclops would have soloed this if it was 90% reduced to poison. But he does have a synergy with Professor X and Wolverine or Cyclops or Colossus in the team, where you can gain up to 72% poison resistant. If I had took out Cyclops and had Wolverine, because I do have 4 charges with Professor X, that would have made Mr. Sinister 72% poison resistant, and this would have been definitely a solo. And with Cyclops, you only need, if he was 90% reduced from poison, and then you have Professor X with the Wolverine synergy, you only need 1 charge. Because 1 charge, you get 18% reduced poison. So he would be 100%, basically 100% poison resistance. So Cyclops would have solved this for sure if he was able to have 90% reduction to poison. Okay, with the Wolverine and Professor X synergy. So what else I want to say? So basically, when it comes to Cyclops, the biggest issue with him is there's damage caps, right? You know, when it comes to like 3 million plus health. Okay, so unless you go past zone 25 in incursion, you're not going to be able to really test out Cyclops. So I decided to test him out in incursion where there's no damage cap. So when it comes to incursion, you could definitely make an argument there might be harder nodes than incursion in other, game mode, which I'm open to that suggestion for sure. But when it comes to combined attack, as you can see here, 219,000 attack for Hyperion. There's no harder fights in the game than incursion past zone 25 when you think about how high their attack is, because one block or one hit could mean KO, right? Just one block or one hit, you practically have to play perfectly against an opponent with 3.4 million health. Okay, and without hacks, basically, like, think about me as a average player, like, compared to the best player in the world. Okay, compared to the best players in the world without hacks. Okay, it's like an average player like me using hacks. So let's see how would that would be. Okay, so imagine the best players in the world is playing this, and they're not using hack. This is pretty tough, I would say. Personal space regeneration. You got the power sting, Hyperion as well, and then you got what that. I forgot what that one is. Healthy something, where they switch from, like, what is that? Okay, I gotta see what that is. Healthy disposition, where basically he can become heal block immune, which is not great against personal space regeneration, and he can also be stun immune as well. So, as you can see here, I definitely could play better, of course. I think multiple attempts I could have soloed this with Cyclops, That's the only thing I don't like about social media. They're very misleading at times because, with multiple attempts, I know I could solo this fight with Cyclops, okay, with better gameplay, obviously. But when it comes to the best players in the world, or pretending to be the best players in the world, they only show you the solo fights. They never show you the fights that on YouTube that they don't solo, okay, and how many attempts it takes them, okay. So some people, they're trying to pretend they're the best player in the world because a lot of it because is their ego, right? It's like they only want to and I think obviously because people only like to see solo. I like to see, I like to show you my bad fights as well because I want to be realistic, okay. Not every fight is going to be solo. Even the best players in the world cannot solo every fight, okay. When it comes to MSD, when he does live gameplay, he doesn't solo every fight he does, okay. But when it comes to his videos, pretty much any YouTuber you see now, every fight they show you is a solo, but that's not realistic because I'm betting even like somebody that like MSD cannot solo every fight. So, like I said, with multiple attempts, I'm sure I could solo this fight with Cyclops, but as you can see with Mr. Sinister, that's why he's the best buff in MCOC. It's not even close. I think that's even with his signature ability from his regen not working. I will be talking about Mr. Sinister in the future more when it comes to like the perfect champion, why he's the best buff in MCOC without a doubt. And I think he could definitely be the best champion in the game if his regen from his signature ability is working, without a doubt, at least for the average player. I will talk about Mr. Sinister in a different video, more about him, but I will be talking about Mr. Sinister, how good he is, why compared to Cyclops, why Cyclops need a buff, okay. How can Cyclops be better than Mr. Sinister, okay. As you can see here, he was stun immune, so I couldn't chain my special 2. But really, his special 2 is underrated when it comes to Mr. Sinister. I never really thought about it until now. It's just so broken. I meant balanced. I don't know why I meant broken. I said broken, but it's completely balanced for sure. So this will be a solo. Let me just throw that special 2. Booyah! So let's look at another gameplay. So as you can see here, one of the biggest issue I have with Cyclops is, like, you can see he's up against what, 3.4 million health Kate Bishop, where he should shine, right? This is pretty much his best matchup. Like, he can counter evade, cast advantage. This is pretty much Cyclops one of Cyclops' best matchup, and there is no damage cap as well. So it doesn't get any better than this for Cyclops. But I'm not going to be able to solo this fight. Okay, but again, this is my first attempt. To be fair, with multiple attempts, I think I could have soloed this fight. But I am not going to solo this fight. Okay, uh, and you could see his biggest issue, like when it comes to Cyclops. So let's just, should I go forward? Now let's look at the gameplay. Okay, so I didn't solo it. 41 seconds, took 27 hits, and I took 11 hits. Okay, so let's talk about Angela. Okay, why she's the best champion in Incursion. It's not really, I don't even think it's close. Okay, look at Angela. Okay, how easy it is for Angela. Okay, but to be fair, when it comes to Angela, when you get past zone 25, she's just broken. I mean balance. I don't know why I keep saying broken. She's completely balanced in Incursion. As you can see here, yeah, there you go. 12 seconds, 15 hits, and completely balanced. So Angela is just so much better. This is obviously especially for Incursion because she can win limited fights, but like that was literally the best matchup for Cyclops, and Angela made it look like Act 2. Maybe you could even argue Act 1. Okay, it's ridiculous. Okay, so let's talk about. So this is fight right here against what is that? Gwenpool, is it? Like this could be easily one of Cyclops' best matchup because he can counter evade when it comes to Cyclops. Okay, but Mr. Sinister is either on par with Cyclops' best matches, if not even better. To be on par with Cyclops when it comes to his best matches, that is just, or even better. That's just to give you a reason why Mr. Sinister is so much better, and why Cyclops needs a buff. As you can see here, when it comes to Mr. Sinister, he's just balanced. He just ignores the evade because of his special 2, which I'll talk more about later when I make another video when it comes to Mr. Sinister. And you know what? What is this, like 3 million plus health in what, 55 seconds? 54 seconds? Yeah, not bad. So, okay, enough with Mr. Sinister. Let's talk about Cyclops, okay? So you kind of get an idea, like, like this is pretty much Star-Lord in Labyrinth of Legends with just more with more health and without a damage cap, okay? So let's take a look at it. So if you want to get an idea, like a Star-Lord without damage cap, how Cyclops is, but I do have hacks here to be, to be fair, I do have hacks here, so which obviously gonna increase his damage by at least double, if not triple for sure. So let's take a look at the gameplay. The gameplay definitely could be better for sure, but I don't know how much better it's going to be. Like, I definitely could have been maybe 10-20 seconds faster, but other than that, I'm not sure. I think my biggest issue is with Cyclops, it takes so long to get him to like to 20 precisions, okay? Especially when you're dealing with large health pools. I don't even know how I get it here. And most times I fight with Cyclops, I don't get him to 20 precision charge because it takes so long. I think for me, also to get him ramp up faster, is just throw your special 2 first, and if you can intersect, even better. But it's really not easy to be able to intersect with Cyclops. I don't know exactly if that's a bug or not, but it's really hard to get that extra precision with intercepting the special attack. So right here, I'm just storing the special attack 2, which instead of saving it, but I should just be throwing it, and then build up back again close to special 3, and that will make it even faster, this gameplay. Okay, Like that's another I think biggest mistake for me is really throw, ramp him up faster, special 2, throw your special 2, and then get back to special 3 to ramp up faster to get that, because the special 2 he get that 5 precisions. So a minute and 35 with 4.8 million health without with hacks, that's not very good. Like I said, it could be a little bit faster, but I have hacks here, I have boost here, and you can see his attack, his PI, it's like what, 40,000, not that high, but you can see it's pretty, it gets a little higher because of the, there's attack boost that increase your PI in incursions. So it's definitely above average for sure, and I do have class disadvantage as well. So as you can see, 401,000, that's with the hack. So let's compare to the health. Okay, that was how long? A minute and 35 seconds. 4.8 million health, a minute and 35 seconds. So let's take a look at another champion as a 6-star, by the way. And this is with without hacks, okay? As a 6-star, rank 5, not ascended, rank 5, against Labyrinth of Legends Star-Lord. So this has come from Steel, I believe. So this is a 6-star, rank 5, not ascended. I don't have class disadvantage, so it's pretty much the same thing, I would say. 6-star, rank 5, not ascended, but I don't have class disadvantage compared to Cyclops against Star-Lord. Okay, so that's ascended, so it's pretty much the same. Let's see how long did that take. This is 3.3 million health Star-Lord in Labyrinth of Legends. Look at that, a minute and 2 seconds. Okay, so it's pretty much the same damage wise. So let's do some little bit of quick math. I know it's probably not accurate. 1 minute is what, 50, about 50,000 damage. A little bit more, like 54,000 damage per second. Okay, and that was pretty much the same when it comes to Cyclops with hacks. Okay, 54,000 damage per second. So, and that's where Cyclops is supposed to excel at, against opponent without damage caps, and he's not even the best option at those fights. So really another reason why Cyclops should get a buff. Okay, so last reason why Cyclops need a buff. Let me just show you one more gameplay. So I do want to say this could be the broken version of Mr. Sinister. I don't know for that. I cannot confirm that. But this is against Labyrinth of Legends Moon Knight with 3.3 million health. He's not running damage mastery nor boost, but he is Sig 200. Okay, this come from Ankit Sharma. 3.3 million health. Let's see how fast it takes Mr. Sinister. So 40 seconds, 3.3 million health in 40 seconds. Okay, without boost, without damage mastery. Okay, I don't think Cyclops can do that as a 7-star rank 4 Sig 200 with 10 persistent charge without damage cap. Okay, and keep in mind this is Labyrinth of Legends with damage cap. Okay, I'll bet somebody that Cyclops cannot do that again with a 7-star rank 4 without damage mastery, without boost. 40 seconds in 3.3 million health without damage cap. And keep in mind this is with damage cap in Labyrinth of Legends. So this is like, okay, let's go to Cyclops. There probably are more reasons why Cyclops needs a buff, but I just gave you those. If that's not good enough to convince you that Cyclops needs a buff, I don't know what will. So there you go. That's give you my reasons why he needs a buff. And to recap, let me just tell you what he needs to do to get a buff to make him, I would say, arguably the best buff in MCOC. So instead of restore damage from adrenaline, just keep it simple. Reduce damage from bleeds and thorns by 90% at max sig. Keep it simple. And when it's persistent charge, instead of getting increased prowess potency by 2%, get for every persistent charge, get 10% burst damage additional. Okay, so that will get bypassed damage cap. Okay, that will help him so much against opponent with damage cap, and also be able to special lock opponent for only 1 second against non-tech, to be fair. That's the third buff. And then fourth one is have an infuriate from your third basic attack, okay, and to dash back and gain infuriate for only 1 second and with a cooldown 1 second. This will help him ramp up. We're pretty much very similar to Hercules, so Hercules can easily get those persistent charge. So that would help him get those persistent charge much faster. And then just to add it up, that's the best buff concept. And to add up another one, make him the broken buff concept is, so right here 90% of damage reduced. Just from bleeds and thorns, it would be including poison. So from poison, bleeds, and thorns, 90% reduced damage, so basically 90% poison resistant. And with the Wolverine and Professor X synergy, even just with one charge, you're just going to be 100% poison resistant. That would just make him so balanced. Let's just say that, okay? Wink, wink, balance. So there you go. Those are my best and broken buff concept of Cyclops. That's it. Thank you.